I'm not going to tell my version of what happened here over time. I appreciate Dr. McKenna's narrative, and I will just say that he's absolutely right. I've never been a principal. I am a social worker. I am a youth advocate, and I have seen through my work at LA County Department of Probation what happens when LA Unified is not able to meet the needs of children and they are taken into the industry of corrections. So I will stipulate, Your Honor, that we, LA Unified, had the best school police department in America. I believe there are many good people working to open doors for students. My issue, and right now we happen to have dollars, but at the time, we were going to face 3 years of challenged budgets, and police officers are the only ones who get to retire at 50. Police officers bring a weapon onto our campus. Police officers, no fault of their own, but their industry in California was funded more than teaching, reading, and writing and supporting young people through academic paths. That's just true. When the world erupted and there were more evidence of people inside law enforcement abusing their power, particularly with Black Americans, that resonated in Los Angeles. And so we have a different lens. Superintendent, count me in on bringing autonomy and authority to school sites. If you want to bring a proposal that Dr. McKenna and Mr. Schmerlson and myself would support about school sites having autonomy, I think we could get there. Dr. McKenna, I am not interested in doing this for just one position. I am interested in opening up decision-making for communities. And I am going to stipulate again, I don't think there's one story. Just like in my school and where I represent, some kids do extremely well within the programs that we offer. Other children need a lot more support before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. So let me just say, there are differences of opinion with respect to funding, using Prop 98 money, education dollars, to fund law enforcement. They seem to have a lot of dollars. Number two, school police, consider yourselves invited to deal with racial disproportionality in LA Unified Schools. I have yet to see a solution besides just, I'm going to say, high levels of testosterone making public comments. Number three, let's agree that there is not enough help for young people to deal with the violence that exists in our community. So whether we have a police officer or not will not create safety alone. But I do know that there are principals inside of LA Unified that are willing to do a pilot of police-free schools. And they want the resources, you know, whether it's $180,000 for a position or, I mean, let's just be clear. We have they work a 4-10 schedule. We have campuses that are not support property. We have a confused role of what we want police officers to do. I think that's true, and that is not the fault of the police officer. So we have great needs. We have had great programs. I believe Chief Zipperman was one of the greatest leaders in the law enforcement, an LAUSD grad that created change inside of our department. I apologize, but I don't think it's enough. It's just like our buildings, our LA University buildings, they are sometimes the safest places in the community. It's true because of seismic investment and others. But if they can't teach a kid to read and write, parents are looking for other choices. Even if you're a monolingual Spanish speaker that just arrived, you want your kid to be able to read. So the extremes in any one of the buckets doesn't help us. I will just say again, I support schools having choices with budgets. I support schools having choices on hiring. And I welcome LA School Police. I know the history too. Ms. Goldberg has shared it, right? At the time, it was seen as a better solution. I will say we created the best possible solution, and it wasn't good enough. There is racial disproportionality in our expulsions, in our citations, and we do not know yet how to treat all children well and fair. And that is a judgment call on my part. And I will again stipulate, no, I have not had the experience of an African-American gentleman who is 80 years old and lived through a segregated South and has been elected to represent people on Los Angeles' board. That's not who I pretend to be. But I am a 53-year-old person who has lived the experience of targeting. You know why there's so few Latinos who are in office? There's not enough of us who make it into college. But boy, can we fill up the jails. So I have lived in a state where when I was born, we were 5th in the nation in per pupil funding. Schools became more poor, schools became more brown and people of color, and we defunded schools over my lifetime. And in 1973, when there was an assault on the say no to drugs, and we began incarcerating everybody instead of supporting them, there is an illusion that people of color and poor people in particular like to be in prison. And that is just not the world that I know. So I would welcome, Superintendent, another recommendation. I'd love to know what else besides defunding school police, what other policies, what other trainings. Our principals and our school site folks call school police because that's what they've done for some 50 years. And the challenge is that we don't know when to call school police. So what's happened right now? You call school police and sometimes they tell you, call your student campus thank you. School climate advocate. Call that person. And I was here too. We did not say replace school police. But boy, given some of the behavior of our law enforcement, I'm ready to take a look at that budget again because I'm certain we can do something else. There's $50 million, and right now LA Unified is hiring, and we are sending mixed messages. And God bless Chief Ramirez, who has a very hard job. But everybody in LA Unified, there is no easy job. So, but we are at a point where I hear colleagues wanting to go back. I do not. If there are, but under circumstances where finance and authority can go to school site, I might consider all the parameters that a school site could make a decision. But I for one, Gloria Molina always taught me, social workers go into the projects with a badge, no gun, and they have to do similar work to law enforcement. There are struggling people in the world. If all we want to do is arrest and call out the bad guys, that system has failed. I am not interested in repeating that strategy. Thank you.